Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're talking about the rise and fall, potentially rise again, of the rotating category credit cards. You know, our once favorites, Chase Freedom, Freedom Flex, Discovery Cash, always held a place in our wallet and our strategies, but now it seems to be falling out of love. So we're going to take a look at what happened, why, and what can be done to, bring rotating category cards back into our favor once again. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, first things first, of course, we have a whole video on rotating category cards on the main page for you in the 101 section, but so we're all on the same page here really quick. Credit cards break out in a few different ways. So you'll have a card with, 1% back, 2% back, dining, 3% travel. Those are categories, and those are fixed categories. I mean, that card is always going to have that multiplier associated to it until they refresh the card. Then you have cards that the categories change, affectionately known as rotating category cards. The most famous ones being the Freedom, the OG Freedom from Chase, the Chase Freedom Flex, and the Discovery Cash. They're called that because the categories rotate every quarter. Chase comes out 2 weeks before the quarter starts, and so does Discover now, actually. They tell you what the categories are going to be, and then you can get 5% back on up to $1,500 in spend in combined category purchases. So right now, at the time of taping, Chase is like McDonald's and something else, and PayPal, and then Discover is like Amazon and Target, right? Everything else will be 1% back. And then you have some other cards, kind of category cards like the Cash Plus from US Bank, that the categories change quarterly, but it's a set list, and it's up to the consumer to pick which categories from the list they want. Same thing in the Bank of America customized cash. So that, at our high level, is category cards, or rotating category cards. So once upon a time, the goal of just about everyone here to maximize points value and strategy was to get as many Chase Freedoms as you could get. And it was nothing against Discover. It's simply, the rules. You can only have 2 Discovery Cash cards, or 2 Discover cards, period. As where Chase, you could have multiple Freedoms, and it was fine. So much so that we bring out the old wallet here, so where I keep the cards that I'm not currently carrying. You can see these right here are Freedom cards. So I've got 5 total, 2 OG Freedoms and 3 Freedom Flexes. Because again, that was the move. You wanted to have as many cards as Freedoms as you could. And why, if you're new here? Because at the time, it was an easy way to get a lot of 5% coverage. From the standpoint of, if the category was grocery stores, you could go to the grocery store, buy, a Best Buy gift card, and then go to Best Buy and buy your item, getting 5% back. That was the way a lot of us did it, myself included. My first Freedom cards actually dated 2013, and that's a lot of what we did. Because back then, there simply weren't a ton of Freedom or a ton of 5% cards, and you wanted 5% has always generally been like the top of the reward structure. Sure, some cards punch a little bit past that, but then you introduce annual fees and things like that, or you see more on the travel cards where the points are not, worth, 1-to-1, specifically like Hilton's and Marriott's and stuff. So anyhow, that was the goals, and then that's all we could talk about in this niche of the internet. Everyone would rush to do their category videos, and then all of a sudden we just kind of stopped. And myself, we just did maybe a month or so ago a video of the credit cards I use the most, and I don't even use the Freedom cards that much anymore. I do use them on occasion, like to buy appliances for this place. I did use them, the gift card strategy, but I really don't use them that much. So what happened to our quarterly category cards? Well, a few things happened, and one major thing, time, competition, and specifically from competition, the Citi custom cash, I think it was really what bashed them in over the head. So if we go through this here of what happened, then what do I think they can do to, curry our favor once more? Time is a simple one, because when you get into the credit card game, it's common knowledge now to start with Chase because of their rule 524. And if you have 5 or more new credit card accounts open the past 24 months, they'll auto decline you. So to start, you end up limited to Chase to begin with, which means you're not going to have access to all those 5% cards that we have on the market today, or even higher multipliers back then as well, even if it wasn't 5%. So to maximize that, you want more Freedom cards, because, once you're gone from Chase, you're going to be gone for a while. So timing a big one, but also how far we've come in time. If you take a look at it, funny enough, I actually found a press release from Chase from 2007, which is when the original Freedom launched. And funny enough, it wasn't even this 5% category card that you see here. Actually, it was a 3% card, very similar to kind of like a cross between a triple cash or a customized cash, really, and a triple cash from the standpoint of that you had 15 everyday categories. I'll put it up for you, and then it would, go through and see where you spent the most money at. Then it would give you 3x back on those three categories that you spent out of the list. That's similar to how the custom cash works today, except, custom cash is one category we'll talk about again in a second. But the card itself, again, wasn't even what it is today. So we didn't have a ton of 5% category cards. And over time, now we do. Again, so much so if you go to the wallet, well, now I have, for example, we run through some of these. Of course, we have, the AAA Daily Advantage, which is 5% back, groceries, up to 10,000 to spend a year, but I mean, still, we didn't have anything like that. Of course, you have the Cash Plus cards that you can get, and since they've branched these out through Elan Financial Services, there's a lot of Max Cash Rewards cards. They're carbon copies of this that people can go get. And yes, it's a category card, but you can choose your category. So that makes a difference. I mean, we've seen something as similar as PayPal come out with a 5% debit card. Now, will this stay? Who knows? But they have it. The Ink Cash, of course, it's got the numbers on the front, so I'm not going to pull it out. And then, other cards as well, Amazon Prime. So you get the point. There's a lot of 5% cards in here that just didn't exist way back when, considering that, when the Freedom launched, it wasn't even a 5% card itself. So all that to say is now, if you've been playing a long time and for how much far the competition's coming, well, now I have a lot of categories covered already, which is always my goal, to have dedicated cards to each category. And so now these rotating categories aren't super helpful to me anymore, because if it's a main category, I probably have something for it. So I'm generally rooting for a category that I don't have, which isn't really going to happen too much on a Freedom or Discover, because, they're still trying to appeal to the masses. They don't necessarily care about us. I mean, every so often it happens. Like when Discover was Home Improvement, I don't have a 5X Home Improvement. I could get 4, but 5. So it helped, right? So it's much more hit or miss. Back then it was basically hits. The last thing, and of course, I don't have these in here. They're in my wallet that I carry for dramatic, or my wallet I carry for real, but for dramatic effect, it's the Citi Custom Cash. I think once the Citi Custom Cash came out, that's kind of what did in the category cards. And if you don't know how the Citi Custom Cash works, well, it's, kind of like the original Freedom card that we just talked about a few minutes ago, and the fact that it has a list of set categories. You're supposed to use your card, and then the Citi will do the math and let you know the category you spent the most in, you'll get 5% back on. Removes the guesswork out of it. The category list is wide and very helpful. And so many of us here, myself included, just use that card for a specific category. I have 2 custom caches. One is for gas and one is for food, and I just write them on the back with a piece of masking tape so I know which is which. And now I'm set on those categories. No more guesswork, no more hoping Chase or Discovered is this, that, or the other. And that, once the custom cache came out and we realized you could have multiples, the argument really changed from how many Freedom cards can I have to how many Discovered custom cash cards can I have. They really got to name these things differently. But anyways, you get the point. How many custom cash cards can I have? And I know me, I'm trying to get even more now. That's why I still want Citi cards, to get them for the intro offer, then product changing them to more custom cash cards. And that's really what did in the cards, because of the time now you have built up the setup. Again, my original Freedom is 2013. So you're talking like 10, 11 years. And now, we've got all these cards. We've got way more competition. And so, yes, they've changed the Freedom card from the original design to this one. But funny enough, it may be time to go back to the original design. And that's how we get into the next part of this. We can now originally agree on what killed them off. I do think the custom cash was responsible for it, along with a few other supporting cards and competition coming for Chase a little bit. But what else? Well, I think number one is both of these guys. It's not just Chase related, but number one, would an easy one would just get rid of the opting in. You have to opt in every single quarter. Now, I get it; it's a way to like one get you to interact with your account, but number two, it's also a way for maybe for you to do the spend and then them not have to pay you, but the spend is already counted. But just get rid of the opting in. It just feels wrong. It feels like a cheap trick, honestly. You should just, why else would I have gotten the card? Why would I need to opt in? That's an easy fix. That should go automatically. Now, the other thing here, especially for Chase and Discover, I think the cap, the $1,500 a quarter, is kind of low now. Again, if you look at our Cash Plus friend and all of its max cash rewards brothers and sisters around at random credit unions, well, those go up to $2,000 a quarter. And the Bank of America customized cash card. See, the names are always identical, but the red one and the Susan G. Komen one is $2,500 a quarter. So $1,500 feels a little dated. I do think they could punch it up to $2,000. Seems fine. I would never say no to $2,500, but $2,000, move it up a little bit, seems fine. It's been sitting at $1,500 for again since I've had the card, and it's been over 10 years now. That would be also very helpful. Now, in Chase's defense, they did do more to bolster the Freedom Flex, which is the evolution of the OG Freedom. And on its own, sure, it is a good card, but again, we're kind of talking about our little corner of the internet, and it having those other things doesn't really benefit us, but we should give an acknowledgement there. Another thing is, I think, two things. If you wanted to keep the rotating category card concept, on one hand, Chase is notorious for this because Chase hides behind categories that people want every day spend on, like groceries, gas stations, things like that. But the problem is other banks put that on their cards to begin with. Wells Fargo has a lot of that on the Autograph. Citi has it on the Premier. So it would be nice to either see those come to the real regular cards every day, which probably won't happen, or number two, because of if you move those to standard categories on other cards, then you could get a little bit more out there and niche with the rotating category cards, which again is slightly counterintuitive what Chase would want to do as a whole, because they're still trying to get these cards to appeal to the masses, not necessarily people who have 5 of them, though they do know people have 5 of them. I'm sure someone has more than that. What I mean by that is categories that we really don't see. Like, for example, they have had wholesale clubs on occasion, and wholesale clubs are usually very helpful to people because there's not really another card that does 5% at wholesale clubs. Wholesale clubs are often excluded from these things. Honestly, another good one, things like that. Mobile wallets, people like. Now, there's the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, and like there's like those versions of like those store cards, like they're not store cards, but like they're based off of stores, like the Kroger card, and they have variations of that from U.S. Bank that give you mobile wallets as well. But you might point, I'm going for like at least throw in maybe a niche category or something in there that may help folks. That would be nice as well. I think something like the Wells Fargo Attune that's 4% back on these random categories, you don't see a ton. Of course, it's going to be hit or miss, and people still might be upset if it doesn't benefit them directly, but hey, that would be fine. But overall, I think the real answer, honestly, is to go back to the original formula. I think the time of the rotating category card is probably come and gone. Now, again, I can make do with them. I don't mind. I'm at the, buying gift cards if I'm going to lock them in 5%. But still, I think the original format of the Freedom went out of style, and now it's back in style. Of course, you wouldn't want to bring in 3%. You'd want to bring in something that matches the custom cash, which I think is your biggest competitor to this as well. But to that point, if you're going to have that, I would also, if you're not going to let it change monthly, then I would say the last part I would add is borrow from Bank of America's customized cash card, and the fact that Bank of America, I can actually change the category. So it's got the list of categories, and then I can change the category once per month mid-quarter, which you just can't do with the U.S. Bank Cash Plus, for example. Once you pick it, that's it for the quarter. So being able to change even just once has been huge for me in the monthly the quarter, but technically it is a monthly card if I can change at least once. That would also be a nice change to get these cards to curry favor a little bit, make them just a little bit more consumer friendly. Now, does any of this stuff happen? Probably not. I think both Chase and Discover are perfectly happy with it. The masses are probably fine with these cards, honestly. And, they do, I think, sell the category spots a little bit. Like McDonald's this quarter for Chase seems like a promotional thing where Mickey D's probably threw them some money. They use it to bring in their Amazon partnership sometimes. So I get it. I don't think you get away from that. You still got to pay your corporate bills. But I do think there's a way to make them a little bit more helpful, bring them up to speed, the 5% portion of them, bring them up to current with some of their competitors. I don't really think it would take that much to do. I don't think it'll happen, sadly, but again, for now, I will be just as happy keeping these in my wallet on an as-needed basis. They do come in handy, so I'm not going to get rid of them all, and that's how I would say you guys should look at them as well, too, especially if you have them. Definitely keep them active, but it'll look to build out your setup with more foundational pieces that you know what the category is going to be, so you don't have to play a guessing game. So anyways, that's my take on the rise and fall of the category cards, the rotating category cards. Let me know what you think down below. How are you using yours, as well as what else could they use to, come back in style again? Love to get your thoughts on it. Of course, guys, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you find particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. We're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, we're right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on ProfitableContent.com, which is the channel's blog. Always linked down below for it, as well as on the channel homepage. We not only have the latest news stories, we have bank promotions, and wouldn't you know, we have credit card offers, including a Freedom Flex as well. I think we even have the Discovery Cash as well. So if you want to try these out for yourself or start building up your arsenal of them, go check it out. Anyways, guys, that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.